And hey, welcome to EMS Underground. I am Charles McFall, and joining me in a little bit will be Tom Camplain. And he's in a meeting right now. He'll be finishing that up. To EMS Underground. I've got to mute my phone, don't I? And joining me in a little bit. Well, we're definitely live on Facebook. So yeah, hey, I'm Rock Out Podcasting Charles McFall, and we are live here on Facebook. And here to take your questions, here to answer anything you want us to discuss. Again, Tom will be joining me in just a little bit. So, hey, I've got the document and I've got my app open, so I can see when you guys and ladies are chatting and asking questions. And that is what the heart of the show is all about. Ask a paramedic anything. We share our personal adventures, our personal stories, our thoughts, and what we've learned in our progress through paramedic medicine. And for me, it was 10, well, I guess technically now it's been 20 years, but I only spent about 10 to 12 of those years active in the field. And for Tom, it's been, 300 years, something like that. So when he's here to defend himself, he can. But I definitely want to get you to help us out on this medium that is Facebook. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the heart button. On your phone, you have to slide it over a little bit from the comments, and you can hit laugh, and you can hit heart, those kind of things, and we'd love to have you do that. Tell everybody, we do this Tuesdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Had a little bit of a technical hiccup today as I was getting started, so a little bit later. But let's talk about the fires that are going on, the forest fires. I got to work with forestry just a little bit a few years ago, a number of years ago now, to help combat a forest fire. And here comes flight medic himself. See, I had something cool set up before. I had to switch some things over. I had a picture of you. I was going to be like, Tom, come in, and the picture's there and all that. But technical things being what they are, I had to reset. And everything's good on your end? You're here now?
Raise my seat up.
I did. I think that's as high as it goes. I can do this. That's how Tom always made me ride in the ambulance. He'd smack me until I just bent over and down. So, forest fires, man, that's the big thing going on right now, right? Yeah. The big forest fires. Just starting to say I've worked.
Did you see that in Gatlinburg?
I saw a picture of some house or something.
Hundreds of buildings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it hit Gatlinburg itself.
Gatlinburg itself.
Wow.
Yeah, burn up a entire hotel.
I think that's what I saw the picture of was the hotel that it had columns or something in the front of it, and then it showed a gutted everything. Yeah. People
lost their entire house. I mean, it's bad. Now, where I grew up in Alabama, we had forest fires quite a bit, but they usually just burn themselves out.
Right. Well, that's the one or two experiences I had with the Georgia forestry was we went out. There had been ongoing fires. This is a long time ago down in Morgan County. There had been fires going on, nothing major, but enough to keep an eye on it. And some teams have been fighting it. And we went out to some place in Morgan County as Chuck Savage and myself and I think a student and met with the forestry guy, and he was digging the trenches. And he was showing how they did that. And because we were standing by in case anything had come that way. And after, an hour of goofing off, we just said, all right, there's no fire here. We're leaving. But I got to learn, about the trenches they dig, the fire break, and then starting to fire there so it goes back towards it to burn up stuff. What I haven't been following this too much. I've been super busy other than knowing that it is going on. I didn't know that it really hit Gatlinburg that hard.
Yeah, Gatlinburg got hit hard. Dolly Parton just announced, I saw this morning, where she's going to be giving the homeowners, the people who lost their homes, that they're going to be giving them $1,000 a month.
Wow.
They didn't say for how long. I'm sure just to get through the hump, but I mean that's pretty nice. I mean,
yeah,
because that's they say over 100 and something structures. I mean, you talk about that's over $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
To some, but I don't know how many of them were people who lived there versus people who just, rented cabins. I know.
Yeah, Gatlinburg's a huge tourist town.
Yeah, I love Gatlinburg, and I usually go to Dollywood once a year.
I've actually never been. My wife and I were talking about vacation for next year and different ideas, and one of them was definitely go up to Tennessee and Gatlinburg.
Dollywood.
I don't know how long does it take to recover for something like that, though.
Well, I remember when I flew with Emory Flight during Hurricane Katrina, and we went down for Katrina. I mean, I was down there the week of Katrina, and they were rebuilding the casinos. And, I mean, it was less than a month before the casinos were backing up running.
Yeah, but that Katrina was, as devastating as it was, you're talking about Biloxi, it hit for a day-ish. So the ones on the actual coastline had some damage. I know they were building a Hard Rock casino, and they put it on hold at the time. Then they went and finished it. But it's not the same as being gutted to the ground.
No, these houses were gone. Everything was gone.
Well, the houses, but the casinos.
I mean, you had like the columns, but everything in between was gone.
Okay, so it was complete gutting devastation.
Yeah, I mean there was no furniture. I mean the drywall was gone. I mean it was, the first 20 feet. Think about the first 20
stories. Yeah, okay.
20, 30 feet was gone. The windows were busted out. I mean, but being a tourist town like it is, I'm pretty sure, people are insured. Insurance companies are probably already on the ground. FEMA's already starting release funds. Before the summer comes, they'll be back and running. Dollywood wasn't hit, so Dollywood's still going. And Pigeon Forge, a lot of the attractions in Pigeon Forge and stuff wasn't hit. Too bad from what they're saying. So I think it'll be up before you know it.
What is the problem with stopping it? I mean, what is
you just can't get water to it, and there's no water.
But I know they have those methods of digging breaks and pushing fire in towards it.
Well, what happened was the wind kicked up to 60, 70 miles an hour, and it was just pushing, and the embers were going everywhere, and everything was so dry that the wind was pushing embers, and the embers would go over the brake, and then that would catch fire. And the wind was just fanning it, and it moved so fast. So I think there's been 3 or 4 people who died in the fire. We got trapped.
Like civilians or firefighters? Or
civilians.
I heard a firefighter died.
He died in a tornado up there in Tennessee. Tennessee's been hit pretty bad.
Holy crap.
Him and his wife were both
It's not
killed.
funny. It's just like, wow. Okay, was there a shark involved?
Yeah, it's a shark.
Tidal wave. Well, the tidal wave put out the fire, but it killed everybody else. It's like,
fire's
wow,
out.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Tornadoes and firestorms and
everything.
Holy cow.
It's been quite a week, It was pretty sad. They had one situation where there was a family, their whole house was gutted, and they were like, we were just here eating Thanksgiving dinner just a few days ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. It's like once that fire gets rolling, it's hard to stop.
And now I believe there's stuff going on out west as well.
There's always stuff out west. That's just, that's like...
It's fire syndrome out west.
Yeah, it's like, that's just what happens out there. So,
yeah.
But, it's different out there because it's kind of like, well, yeah, every year there's major fires here, so I'm going to build a house right here in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So that you kind of know. It's like building your house in a floodplain. Like, every time it rains, a flood comes. So I'm going to build a house here. Well, so out there they kind of know.
Sure.
This doesn't happen that often, especially in, big areas like Gatlinburg,
No, right. This is the first time a major fire that I can remember has been going on across multiple states.
Yeah.
Where people are talking about smoke damage and smoke itself.
Smoke
carrying
people complaining about, the asthma issues, breathing issues, air quality. My daughter goes to school. One of my daughters goes to school up at Young Harris.
Okay.
She says it was getting pretty bad up there with the smoke and stuff.
So that's not that far from here. It's 1 hour or two from.
It's a couple hours from
that's
here.
Still that's North Georgia,
yeah,
right?
That's right on, almost on the border, North Carolina and Georgia.
So it's been a couple of weeks. How you been?
Man, hey, I'm back.
There you go. You feeling better? You doing
feeling
good?
Better.
Looking good.
Well, thank you. Hopefully I'll be getting smaller as we go.
How's the school going? Everything carrying on? I know the advanced class kicked up.
Yeah, another advanced class kicked up. School's been going good. Just kicking along. We've got the December coming up. We got a big national registry coming up on the 14th. It's going to be a long day. We're going to be doing one registry during the day, and then we got another one that night.
That's a Wednesday. That's an interesting day to pick instead of a Saturday.
Well, it's the day that was available.
Well, there you go.
Because you kind of got to work it around the national registry as well.
Yeah.
So it's not so much just just us. So plus, it kind of worked out too because that class ended. The night class ended on Wednesday, and they're a Wednesday night group, so it's their normal night to do. And we would have been doing that one regardless, but the one that we're doing during the day, we were asked by another school to help them, and that's the day that they needed to do it, and then that was the day. In December, the registry is, because all these classes are ending, this is like the December is a busy month. So the weekends were pretty much all booked by the time we got in there. So that's why we had to do it on a Wednesday. So better than not doing it, And
you get it done, right?
You get it done. Well, the way I look at it too, unfortunately, if there's any students or would-be students out there, look, it's you wanting to get your license certification. You can do it or you cannot do it. You can do it here and locally if we're local, or you can drive to Savannah, or you can drive to Tennessee, or you can drive to Alabama. So, it is what it is. You know? Or you can drive, try to get in one of the weekend groups with the others. So.
I honestly hated the Saturday classes because when I took the EMS class and the paramedic class, but especially paramedic, I was working full time on the ambulance. Mm-hmm. I was planning a wedding at the time. I was going to the classes. I think we're doing, I can't remember if it's 3 nights a week or 2. I think it was 3 nights a week. And then so that final registry, you did the Monday class and Wednesday class were all review. Friday night class was test for a couple hours. Mm-hmm. You go home, you get up early the next morning and come in and spend all day doing the registry. Just like, is this over yet?
Yeah.
I needed to be over.
I had to drive for my paramedic registry. Gosh, I had to drive like 3.5 hours.
Holy cow!
To get
there. I had it local, so that was nice.
I'd do it in Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery.
Yep. Got lost a few times, but a lot of times people don't know how good they got it. So, people complain. I can't make everybody happy, contrary to popular belief. But we try. We try our best.
I thought that was your job as the chief here.
Yeah.
Keep everybody happy.
Chief happy maker.
Yeah. That's the guy who brings in donuts and Chick-fil-A biscuits.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I'll save some questions. There's some questions I made a list of, right, to ask, and I've been using those. But there's some specifically I saved because I wanted your input.
Okay.
So we know, at least in the state of Georgia, and it seems to be fairly standard federally, that 18-year-old is the age range to get EMT.
Right.
Right. Now, I think we've discussed previously, some insurances won't let you drive the ambulance until you're 2021. Whatever. Every state kind of varies. Every service kind of varies. But universally, 18 is the bottom cutoff to get in.
Right.
So here's the question. Can 2 18-year-old EMTs go on an emergency call by themselves, or do they have to have someone 21 years of age or older with them? I know my personal answer is they better have somebody older with them.
I don't know. I'm going to tell you because to become a first responder, there's no age limit on the first responder. And we did a class here of high school kids. We took them through first responder, and then we took them through EMT, and then we took them through advanced EMT. Those kids, I'd rather a lot of them work on me than some of the adults.
When they were done, how old were they?
18.
Okay.
They range from 18 to 20 years old.
Sure.
Because some of them started
still babies.
Some of them were like when they started was like 16. Some were like close to 18 already, and they went through the whole thing. But some of them I would.
I could always. I know instantly in both of our minds, different names pop up as adults of people to know. No.
But think about this.
But
how many military medics out there that are out there in the trenches in Afghanistan and out and fighting terror right now, and they're 18, 19 years old?
They're still with people who are seasoned
Not
veterans.
Really. Not as a combat medic, you get put
officers and
No,
I mean, okay, they might have to do the medicine on their own, but they're still, I don't know. I mean, it's the whole situation. Okay, you want to compare it to that. So you walk into a car accident and you're by yourself. The first time you experience anything is different. And even when you experience something at 18, 20, I think it's different than when you've done it for a while and you experience it again at 33 or older. Okay, as a lieutenant, as a commanding officer, if you had two fresh out of school 18-year-olds, would you put them together on a truck?
Probably not.
And why? I mean, I've got my reasons.
They don't have any experience.
That's
right.
kind of my point. It's not necessarily the age. It's how much experience
But I really
have
wouldn't put two 40-year-olds that have no experience on a truck either.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. You put me and Mike together on a truck, and that would cause some trouble.
I mean, you put me and James on a truck, all kinds of trouble.
Right.
But, I don't like to, I try to look at the person, not the age, because there's some really immature 18-year-olds, and there's some that are pretty mature. But at the bottom line, if I'm hurt and I'm sick, and it's two 18-year-olds that have graduated EMT school who are going to save my life, I don't care. If they know what
Fair enough.
And if they've been able to make it through school and they've passed the rigors, then yeah. But I don't know how the question's going. I mean, like if they're two 18-year-olds, just they just got off work. As a captain, I wouldn't put them. I wouldn't put them on a truck together, and that's their primary job. But if they just got off work and they're on the way home, they're carpooling, and they come up on a wreck, heck yeah, get out. You better get out, and at least, because doing something's better than nothing, right?
True. This is
Can
true.
be, but I would not. No, they would be on there with a seasoned person, because there's been many times that I've put people on trucks, where I've got a 24-year-old paramedic who has been a paramedic since they were 20 and has 4 years experience as a paramedic, which is a good bit. You learn a lot in your first 4 years as a medic.
It's true.
And I've put them on the truck with a 40-year-old brand new medic. And of course the 40-year-old was like, "Oh, I'm 40 and you're 24."
Well, that's definitely where the age doesn't matter.
It's like, no, you need to. You have no experience. This person's done work. 100 cardiac arrests, and you've never worked one. So no, we're not gonna. I wasn't gonna play that game. It's
right. Because that's where it doesn't matter.
That person ended up not staying at our circle because he couldn't work with anybody. He always wanted to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm this and that."
But he's brand new out of school.
Like,
how do you not understand that?
Some people have that issue, but on the converse side, just because
you throw up on my microphone, I'll be mad.
Just because
lick it up.
It was just something caught my throat. But
that might get us ratings, though.
Yeah, it might.
People tune in for that.
But but like as a combat medic, you're usually just one medic to a platoon of 30 guys. It's just one of you. You're out there by yourself, and then you're out there by yourself. It's not like here where I can pick up the radio.
You're the lone medic, but at the same time, you've got a seasoned commanding officer who.
But they don't know anything about medicine.
True. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is even if they don't, they know stuff about everything else. They know how. Hopefully, they know how to keep their head cool in battle or stress situations or whatever.
But when they get shot,
right?
It's like if you ever watch Black Hawk Down. Those guys are young.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this too. I was watching this documentary on PBS, and it just hit home. And you know what? I'm probably going to offend some folks, and I'm in the mood for doing that today. Maybe that'll get some ratings up. But I was watching this documentary on PBS about World War II, and I was looking at these pictures, and I was like, those are kids.
Yeah.
And then I look at the kids out here today. Like, really? You're complaining about this? When these guys were eating beanie weenies with bullets being shot over their head, and they were scavenging for newspapers so they could stuff in their boots because they didn't have winter clothing because they were stuck in France. Come on now.
Well, I would just to flip that argument, I would dare say that those kids would not wish that on any generation.
No, they wouldn't.
I think if they had the choice, they'd rather be complaining about minimum wage than being shot at in the trench.
Why can't these generations be grateful for what they got?
Well, it's a human factor, and that goes into the old paramedic versus the new paramedic. Is you only know the reality you live in, and my kids do not understand tuning into a TV channel at a certain time or you don't see the show. They don't get that up because we're on demand everything, and they've grown up with Netflix, and now my littlest ones are growing up with tablets. They have no concept of what it's like to put a tape in a VCR or to not have. Oh, I didn't see that show. I'll never get to catch it again. I mean, I'm gonna go lay in my bed and watch whatever the heck I want to watch or play the games, and I think it just changes so much that I don't know. You know how we'll adjust for inflation on cost of things. I wish there was a scientific method to adjust for technological or just reality. So, okay, how can we compare today's generation with what they have going on to that generation adjusted for XYZ? And then you could kind of compare.
It's like, I don't know. I've heard the term, white people problems.
Sure.
I've heard that term.
First world problems.
First world problems. Yeah. That's like, the problems that they got now, that's like, really? What can we call that? Because when you're going to Harvard and you're going to college and you're in college and you're going to have a better life, that's a lot better than the kids that are scraping for whatever and I'm not saying in another country. That's in our own country, Charles. Right. We got people living hard lives in our own country, and we got spoiled kids out there complaining, oh, I'm not getting this for free, when they have the means to work for it. That's the problem.
Always been kind of
is that you've got the means to work for it. Yeah. You don't need it for free. Maybe some other people that don't have the means to work for it or don't have, and they need a hand up to help get out of that. Heck yeah, that's what we need to be doing.
Speaking of
people who can do for themselves. But
you're fairly reasonably priced school.
Yes.
Right? Do you have scholarships? Do you have the ability to give
Yeah, we help people all the time. Matter of fact, like honestly, I mean, I got people calling me like this month, like, and I hear everything, and I listen to everything, and we try to help everybody that we can.
Sure. And
we do things. We'll defer payments. We'll move payments around. We'll extend things out. I've had where I'm like, I ask people, hey, you come up here and help us for a day. We'll trade, barter.
Fair enough, yeah.
We do a lot to help people, and that's been marching orders from me to everyone here because I want us to be a helpful organization especially when things have been plenty. Now, there's been times where I've had to struggle, where it's been harder. Right. But when you're at a point,
is lacking to help.
Yep. And some months I can, some months I can't. Some months it's like like EKG, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And we have to look at that. But I've helped so many people get through these programs, and I'll always do that.
Cool.
We'll continue doing that.
I've heard that we're going to have a massive graduation party with open bar and catering and ballet and.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I'm selling the tickets too.
See, that's the way to be. It's like, yeah, we're going to do that. It's $20 to get in the door.
Yeah, $20 cover charge.
But you're right about the aging. One of my best partners I ever had, I was a 20-something-year-old paramedic. Let me think. I was 23 when I got married. I had just gotten my paramedic numbers. Actually, no, I had just gotten the notice I'd failed my paramedic, but I'd rescheduled the test. So I was a young medic, is what I'm saying. I was trying to figure out my age roughly. So at 24, 25, I've always been self-aware. I've always been learning from mistakes. I spent a good year and a half in the field before I went to paramedic school. So I was a fairly level-headed paramedic. I'd gotten thrown into the fire very quickly and that'll do it. If you can survive the heaviness, you'll come out usually much better. And I did. And so I was, let's say I was 26 years old, and I had a brand new EMT who was 40 something. This was like his third career. EMT? Yeah, but this was like his third career, or whatever. But he knew what he knew, and he knew that while he was old enough to not quite be my daddy, but definitely a lot older than I was, he knew that he was a new EMT and that his level of education was underneath mine for as far as levels of schooling. And he was just the best to work with because he's so eager to do. He wanted to do everything he could do, and never ever had the air. His name was Vance. I'm going to say that, man, because he was awesome. His name was Vance, and he just never had that. I'm too old for this crap. He's never had that. I'm smarter than you because I'm older. He did have moments like, hey, man, I understand where you're coming from. We'd have conversations, never on a call, but in our conversations, He goes, hey, let me share some experiences I had in life. He would do that, and that's great because he had more experiences than I had at that point. But as far as the medicine went, he was just an amazing partner.
He knew when to defer.
Exactly, and man, he was always on those IOs because he had a checkoff list. Everything I learned in school, I want to do. And we had a situation with a kid. He was almost like a puppy. I mean, he was very calm and cool. But I could read it on him. He was like, can I? Like, knock it out, man. And he went and got that IO and just was ecstatic.
Got his bucket list.
Got his bucket list, man. It was awesome. I got some more questions, and people, you can hear on Facebook. There's a few people watching. Ask us the questions. And honestly, this thing stays on Facebook after we're done. So post some questions. And here's one. Here's two, actually. You asking.
There you go.
What would be your message to the EMS world this holiday about families, tragic weather, etc.? It's a tough job.
Yeah. Well, to families, one thing I like to say to families, be supportive. It's there's a lot of tragedy at the holidays, and it can get depressing for EMTs and paramedics. Sometimes it's hard to be happy when you just got off shift and a family just had a crash and 3 kids just got killed.
Yeah.
Before Christmas. That can be hard. So don't be patient with them, them, but also too as the EMS people, be understanding of your family, as well, because understand they don't understand, and it's not their fault, and they love you, and they want you to be happy too.
And I think you can bridge that understanding gap by communicating. I stand firmly on the fact that I fully believe anybody who says, well, my wife won't understand, I can't tell it, you're wrong. You're wrong. Try. And honestly, this is me because I've married the right person, I felt like, in my life. I've still been married. We're coming on 17 years. And she was with me. She met me when I was an EMT, and I've shared everything with her. And I got to tell you, if you can't share your life, if you can't just come home and say, no, okay, there's timing. Okay, you come home Christmas morning, the kids are ready to open up presents, fake it. Be as happy as you can be, open up presents, and hopefully you have a spouse who go, hey, you okay? It's like, yeah, we'll talk about it later. And you share that moment and be in the moment. That's the thing for families and for medics. Be in the moment. Take the moment you have to be happy, knowing that, hey, out here this horrible wreck happened, or maybe in a few minutes I have to go on this bad cardiac arrest, whatever. But be in find those happy moments and let them be happy instead of bringing your darkness into it. But besides that, have somebody, preferably your spouse, your family, that you can sit down and go, hey, this is what's got on me right now. This is what's just happened, and they can understand. They can sympathize and help you with that, because if you don't, you'll ultimately be alone, and your marriage will break up, and you'll lose your family. I mean, that's what I've seen happen so many times.
Yeah.
It's tough. There's other halfway marks, though. I worked a number of different services, but I lived in the counties I worked in a number of different times. And my wife's family lived in the county I worked in, so Christmas Day I was working. My partner and I, we cleared up with our captain, took 30, 45 minutes to go over to my in-laws' house, and I got to have Christmas with my kids and my wife and them, and it's Suzanne Ward, and she was my partner then, and she got to be a part of that. Then we trekked right over to her house or her in-laws or somewhere that was still within. It was just outside of territory, but we got it cleared and was able to spend time with her family. So we found those moments. There were other times my family came to the fire station that I was at, and visited me. Those kind of things. So that's the kind of stuff that you need to do. Or you move Christmas a day later.
Or
that's
a day
that understanding.
earlier.
A day earlier, that flexibility. So here's the question.
My daughters said that half the time they didn't know when the holidays really were because we would have to do that.
Yeah, that's the question. What's important about the holiday?
Yeah, it's just a day. I mean, you can do it.
What the importance of what you give it? So right, it's just a day. So is it your family that's important, or is somehow that day, that number important?
It's your family.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
And especially nowadays with bigger families and extended families, Christmas is over a few days, right? Or Hanukkah, or whatever you recognize at the holidays. Even Thanksgiving. Right. When my Thanksgiving was some on Wednesday, a lot on Thursday, and some more on Friday because of how you have to travel and do different things. So really, that's it. And then let you carry the darkness, right? Sometimes you carry. I mean, there's stuff that affects you, absolutely. But I remember there's one. I was at a Christmas party for the company, and that's where they gave out the Save Awards and recognized you for your good work. And in the middle of the party, you can come on through. It's all good.
I was going to the coffee.
Yeah, come on. We're live, so you get to wave as you come through to get coffee. It's EMS, man. That's how it works. So we were there. My partner and I were on duty. We were at the party. We got a call. We went, ran some cardiac arrest that was gonna not pan out very well. And so that cardiac arrest didn't work. And I chose, and then we went back to the party afterwards. And they had saved us food. They'd say we'd actually gotten a Save Award while we were gone. And I remember choosing, I didn't think I was choosing. I was like, we didn't save this person, and I'm holding the Save Award. And I chose to be dopey and dark and sad and stuff going, and this is one that I did help. And the reality is on that cardiac arrest, I don't remember the exact details, but most cardiac arrests, the save or the loss, I mean, we never call it a loss, but is because of what's going on with that patient. It's not necessarily us.
Yeah, I always say despite your best efforts, sometimes they live.
That's right. I forgot you said that. Wesley Sparks says, can y'all explain the importance of freelancing on fire scenes for both EMTs and fire side of things? It's a very critical point that I've seen. Freelancing is done by just, hey, I'm here. You want to pay me to fight a fire?
Yeah, or
I'm not sure what freelancing.
To help.
Are you familiar with kind of what he's speaking about?
No.
Here? All right, Wesley, you're going to have to give us some more.
But
here.
I mean, if he's talking about like if you're on the truck and you get there and you get out and you start helping.
Okay,
I mean,
see. Yeah, sure.
I can see.
Yeah.
I encourage it as long as it's within your scope. I mean, I know many fire scenes. Whenever I would work a fire scene, I'd help pull hose.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'd help them put equipment up. Yeah. Help them. Whenever the guys come out of the fire, I would be somewhere around rehab, and I help them get the SCBAs
well, that's our job,
off.
Is the rehab, right?
Yeah. Get the SCBAs off. Help them get the jackets off. Get them some Squencher or some water. Check them out. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they're okay. I've helped direct traffic. I've helped pull hose to a hydrant. But I've never went outside of my scope.
Well, and let's define scope really quick. What is your definition of scope?
Well, I'm not going to get in and do anything that's going to cause me to be in danger.
That's fair enough.
And I'm not going to do anything that's going to take me away from being able to do my primary job, which is there to help if there's a victim, take care of the victim, or take care of in any injured firefighters and monitor the firefighters so that they are healthy and safe.
Yeah, yes. Scope. Well, I used to think scope was what the medical director dictated. Right. This is what you can do. Really, scope is partially that, but partially have you been trained to do it?
Yeah.
I learned that working at Newton ER is all of a sudden they come through. It's like I hated this part, but like, hey, we're getting all the nurses in the ER staff to learn how to do fecal tests. And basically,
That's
you had
beyond the parameters of my training.
that's what I tried to say.
That's
Like,
out of my scope.
and they're like, nope, you're
Nope.
working in the ER. You have to. And so
Nope.
they train me, and they that's what I learned. Scope is what they train you to do. And then
Yeah.
the doctor says, yeah. And I tried to pull that. Oh, no. Nope. They put me through a 10-minute class, and went, this is how you do it. Now you've been trained. Like, yeah, but good luck getting me to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Not doing
I learned how to cast people, which is never fun, but in the situations they need it, that's important.
But that's now like technically within your scope.
Now, it wasn't then, though.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it was once I got trained, though. I got trained on it, and then it became part of my scope in the ER, but I couldn't go out on a truck and do it, and so on and so forth. So when you're talking about the freelancing on a fire scene, it depends on the service, right? So in Rockdale County, it's 100% professional paid fire service. So I did what you're talking about. I'll help you get your packs on, I'll help you get your packs off. I knew how to, I learned, they taught me how to check the packs. So while they're gearing up, I'm getting the packs ready. Mm-hmm. So sure, I can do that. But my job there was to be medically safe, is to help you guys out. Now, I never had any desire to go into a fire building. I wore polyester for most of my career. Ain't no way I'm going near a fire, you know.
Right.
But when I was in Jasper County, and it's mostly volunteer, I got trained on how to run the pump and drive the truck.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Because,
I might drive the truck, but man, the liability.
well, we were all under the same banner at that point.
I know.
So-
But I'd need to, because there's more than, learning to pump the truck. That's like a progression in the fire service. You start off rookie firefighter, then you start off at relief driver, and then you're an engineer, FAO, and then you go up.
Have you worked
It's
with
more
more
than a-
volunteer services?
Oh
Just
yeah,
curious.
that's
okay.
only
All right.
firefighting.
Gotcha.
I never worked a paid fire service. It's
I
only
gotcha.
been
Okay.
volunteer. But I wouldn't. Now I would do it if somebody was there with me, watching me to make sure. And I've done that where somebody's watching me, making sure I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
But you charge the wrong line, somebody could die.
Right. Well, okay. I get
Or
you.
discharge.
I get you.
Or
And these are
discharge
definitely
line.
are
accident.
concerns. So it was all on scale. And we, as a volunteer fire department, as a one truck, you'd pull one hose, line up. You know how to charge things. It was mechanics. It was very simple. It was like you hit this button, you do this. And I'm very mechanically minded, very computer minded. I built computers, so it was very much A, B, C, D. All right, that's easy enough. Mm-hmm. And I would sit there and run the truck till the chief would show up, and they'd watch over. And then I'd be, hey, let's make sure these firefighters swap out this and that and the other. Children behave. That's what I'm saying. Wesley comes back and says that's what I was meaning about the folks. Sometimes they're not trained on certain levels and could get hurt. Stay out of the way. If you don't know, there's been plenty of fires.
And be quick to say I don't know.
Yeah.
Be quick because you can get hurt quick. And the thing is, when you get hurt, that means it takes 3 other people to help you, which takes 3 other people away from the situation. And if you get, besides what if you call somebody else get, it's just compounds. So just, you kind of learn though, as you go and you get more comfortable with things. But I always felt like my primary role there was to support the firefighters.
Know your role. That's first of scene safety.
And make sure that they're safe and be there to treat any potential victims.
Absolutely. I might piss off a whole bunch of firefighters here, but I say all my experience with the training that I've gone through for firefighting and been around the people who've been training, it's super practical. It's not nearly like medicine where you have to kind of guess. It can be 5 answers. It's, hey, there's a fire in a room. This literally happened. It was a house that was an old house that had been expanded on, and the fire was in a room. I'm looking at where we are. It's not a studio, it's a class, but our studio, and there's concrete stone walls. Mm-hmm. It was very much like that. 3 stone walls, and the fire was in that room, essentially contained. The volunteer firefighters showed up. First thing they did was kick open the front door, which was in the wood part of the house. which brought in air. Then they went around to the back. It's like, oh, there's a fire in the back room. There's a window. I'm going to bust out this window and put water in it, which caused a draft. The house went to the ground. When it was in a room that was contained, all you had to do was be They weren't ready to go in, by the way. Yeah, they saved the porch.
Yeah, a porch saver.
But the practicality was like, wait a minute. You don't even have a hose ready. Why are you kicking the door in?
Yeah.
You barely have your pack on. Oh, wait. I don't have anything to go into this house. I'm going to kick the door open and bust a window with no hose, no water, nothing ready to go. It's very impractical.
Training doesn't get you ready for everything. That's the experience.
But that's what I was talking about with the fire. It goes with his question. It's what's practical. Am I trained to pull a hose? Mm-hmm. I am now, but when I first started, my job was, hey, I showed up in this nice blue uniform. I'm going to help you when you get hurt or save anybody or cool. Mm-hmm. Really, practicality on most fires, how structured fires is, here's some water, come sit down, cool off. Here's a towel.
When I say pull hose, what I'm talking about is there's firefighters that are doing, I'm just helping his muscle. I'm not doing anything. You know, it's a charge.
You're not unloading and
I'm not,
laying out.
You know, I'm just helping pull because, you know, it's heavy.
Right.
And I'm just helping them pull.
Especially once it gets wet.
Yeah, I'm just helping them pull. I'm not doing anything special except for just pulling, you know, and then after the fire's been there, I've helped them roll it back up. And, you know, 'cause
that's straight muscle and clean up. And
Because the thing is, in my experience, is that I help them because you know what? When I'm on my medical call, who's getting my stretcher?
Oh, yeah.
They are.
Absolutely.
Who's helping me carry that person down the stairs? They are. Who's grabbing my bags? They are. Who's doing CPR for me? They are. They help me out immensely, and you know what? I'll repay that. If that means whenever they're doing their job and they come out of that hot building and they're steaming, they're hot and they're tired and they're thirsty, I'm standing there with a thing of water for them. Here you go, thank you. And that's the way that I say thank you because majority of the calls that they run are medical calls helping me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So when I go run calls to help them, I try to repay it the best I can. You know, and it makes me mad because some people, you hear of other people, they just find a place and they sit in the truck and don't get out. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I did that on a barn fire at 2 a.m. because there was no fighting. And you're talking about chaos.
Now I've sat in the truck when it's been cold, but whenever I see them come out, I get out and I go do my thing. And then whenever I get back in.
Everybody was just kind of roasting marshmallows. And it was, okay, when I say barn fire, it was a steel girder, open barn with, I think they said about almost 2,000 round bales of hay stacked in it. And one of those hay fires that spontaneously combusted. Yeah. When you get there, I mean, you can see the dragon. I mean, the fires are swirling. It's TV quality. And the volunteers wanted to practice, and they did have to maintain it because if they didn't do anything, it would have spread, whatever. So they had the water around it. There was no going in. There was no real danger. It was so hot, the steel girder in the center that you can see was glowing orange outside of the fire, and it was collapsing. So it was like I sat in the truck and just went to sleep for a while because there was nothing else to do. But somebody had to be there, just like a truck had to be there to make sure it didn't go crazy. But other than that, I'm with you. I'm out there on the scene working stuff. Although I like the idea of freelancing. It's like, hey, if you want to pay me, I'll bring that host to you. Here's this contract real quick. Sign it. Now I've got a question that I saved for you because I thought it was very interesting. And you actually touched on it with the whole the first responder and bringing kids up from 16. I have a 16-year-old son with a special needs. Now, she never defines what special needs are. I have a 16-year-old son with special needs. He is currently in 11th grade and is obsessed with being an EMT. I want him to have some kind of volunteer experience, but so far, every squad has turned me down. What can I do? And I think for the sake of argument, we might need to define special needs, but
yeah,
is it autism?
It's kind of hard to help with that without knowing because you have to be able to do the job. There is no in our profession. There's a lot of professions where ADA says you got to make this accommodation or that accommodation,
right?
And
there's not a whole lot of accommodations we can do.
There's not a whole lot because when the public calls 911, they expect someone to come and save their life, and there is no excuse saying, "Well, I would have saved your life. Your life would have been saved, but I've got
my fibromyalgia is acting up."
Yeah, can't do it because, I've got this situation and I'm sorry, you're just going to have to die. No, you have to be able to do the job. It's like I have a back issue, and, I recognize I have my back issue, and I don't work on the truck anymore because I'm not going to put somebody's life at risk.
Other people in jeopardy.
And you can't do that. But they are, just because you say special needs, I mean, what are the needs? I mean, if it's special needs because you have a learning disability that can be overcome with accommodations, but at the end of the day, you're able to do the job, that's one thing. But if it's something, let's say you can't hear, you're deaf,
Right.
Well, you can't. You got to be able to hear blood pressure. You got to be able to hear breath sounds. You got to be able to hear the radio. You got to be able to hear to talk. You got to be able to talk to the physician. That may be more difficult to overcome. But that doesn't mean that there's not a place. There's things that you might be able to do.
You, being the person who has the deafness, can, there's cochlear implants, there's special stethoscopes. If you're 100% deaf, there's a good chance you're never going to do the job because you have to be able to hear.
Yeah, or blind,
Right, if you're actually blind, you can't do the job.
Or if you, bilateral amputee of both arms, without prosthetics, I don't know. It may be able to be overcome depending on what the disability is.
Let's talk about certain disabilities then. Well, I wanted to get back to the question. Now, he's obsessed with being an EMT. That doesn't necessarily mean she wants him to have the job. At 16, she wants him to have volunteer experience, get kind of in that world and get to do what he's doing. But everybody was saying no. So, as somebody who's run a station, let's say you have autonomy. Okay, you get to make the decision. If they bring up an autistic kid that you can make some accommodations for and let him be around the station and help out with certain things and show him some things, would you do that?
I think I would. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't. I don't see why. I mean, he could, hang out, maybe takes, just think about that. If he takes a CPR class and learns a few things, he may not be an EMT,
or even certified for CPR.
But if he's at Walmart and somebody passes out and he's there and he starts doing chest compressions, he might save life.
Right. So I think the same for Down syndrome, for people who are functional in society.
Yeah, their caregiver may be choking, and they may be the only person there that can help. And if they may do, abdominal thrust, or if it's nothing else, just knowing how to call 911 or to get help, I think that you could customize something, but
I think too many, I have to say people in general, because it's really organization mindsets. I think the first thing they see is liability. Oh, what if, and it really still comes back to what we're talking about with the holidays. Lack of understanding. Is they see something they don't understand, any kind of special needs kid, ranges from, like you said, deaf, blind, amputee, something that they have to accommodate, to, of course, all the ranges of autism, which obviously there's some that would just never be allowed into a firehouse because it's too chaotic, and it depends on their spectrum what sets them up. But your Down syndrome kids are intelligent. They can hold down jobs. They can live lives on their own. But you'll see something different from yourself and go, liability. I think that's the first thing.
Well, I think would need that. If I had that autonomy, what I would do is do something like consult with the Boy Scouts with their Explorer program, because they've already gone through that.
Sure,
maybe
gotcha.
Establish that organization that has parameters, has guidelines and stuff already established, so that as long as you're following that, if something happens, you've got the backing of that organization to help you in those situations, and also to help you with daily operations of how to do things. I don't think I would just say, "Oh yeah, come on in. We'll find something for you to do."
Right.
We would need something.
The first step is absolutely. And this mom, who obviously didn't address us directly, I pulled this from a website. It's a great question to discuss. And anybody who has this question, if you know somebody who has something similar to this question, share this video with them. and it'll help because the first thing that has to be done is education from the parent to the organization, right? And like you said, check with Boy Scouts. You want volunteer organization or volunteer experience, check with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I know the Boy Scouts Explorer program, which is for
boys and girls.
14. Oh, okay. I didn't realize it's for girls
Boys
as well.
and girls.
Actually, I did know that. I was actually okay. I have my own issues with Boy Scouts. There's a whole long story I won't get into, and it's not even relevant. But technically speaking, I was an explorer for like a year, and I was forced against my will to be an explorer. And I do remember there were females there, so you're right. And they get into the police explorers and the fire explorers and the EMS explorers. And I was with this Civil Air Patrol, which is an adjunct of the Air Force. It's their version of Boy Scouts, essentially. Search and rescue and all that, and we got tied in somehow towards the end of it with explorers, and that's how I got forced to be an explorer. It's like I never ever had any desire to be a Boy Scout. I mean, Tom is just glad that I could keep it straight on the show for an hour. I am no Boy Scout.
I feel the same way, but I have issues with. I have issues. I'm the CEO, and I have issues here. So, I mean, it doesn't matter.
You look in the mirror like, why do you do that?
Yeah, I do. I was at one time a scoutmaster for a while, and I ran into a lot of issues. At the church I was at, we had a Boy Scout troop. And I was a scoutmaster for about a year, and I had some serious issues there. But overall, I mean, the kids, what was important was the kids and the kids that enjoyed it, There were some kids that were forced to be there, but and they didn't, and I understand that. But there's kids there that do, and I know Explorer kids that enjoyed it too. But I do know that there's some experience there, and if you're looking for a place, that might be a place to go.
Yeah.
Especially being that young.
Now I've got one last question. I'll remind everybody who's watching or has watched, if you watch this after the fact, hearts, thumbs up, share this on your page. Wesley, we answered your question. You are required to hit a heart and share this on your page because we addressed you directly. But we definitely, your questions help shape the show, definitely helps us give you what you need.
And that's why we're here.
Because you can go to any school, and especially this one, you can go to any school and learn the book, right? We're here to expand on that, to share the knowledge, and it's open and free to everybody. And I would hope
don't matter what school you go to.
Right. But I was going to say, exactly. But I would hope that if you liked our style, if you like how we answer stuff, you'd come and at least check out Georgia Institute of EMS. But I left you with a question a couple of weeks ago that had Travis Jones from Kentucky on, the firefighter, and we talked about it. But I wanted to get your experience. We left a question with, have you ever been in an ambulance or been on duty and had to relieve an ambulance that got wrecked on a call? Like they were either going lights and sirens and had an accident, and then therefore you had to take over or help out, or have you been in an ambulance that got nailed?
I've had to relieve one. I had one when I worked in Alabama. There was a crew that got hit by a train, and both of them were en route to the call. They got hit by the train. It was, it was a bad situation. It was an unregulated crossing.
Oh, so there was
crossing guard.
You kind of have to hope and look, and maybe the train's not coming.
Yeah,
it was just bad.
It was just a stop sign, and it was a double track. So there's two tracks, but there was a curve.
Oh,
and
no.
on the curve side, there was a dead train. So there was some box cars. So you couldn't see. And then there was a train coming the other direction. And they had lights and sirens on, and they got hit.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, a train cannot yield to an ambulance. Unless you got a straight away, you can see it. But
they couldn't hear it because they had lights and sirens on.
And
they came.
Man.
The only thing there, no, they both died.
Damn.
And, I didn't know why we were getting the call. I was like, didn't they go on that call? Didn't, and it's weird because I didn't know them really. Because in Birmingham, I worked for Caroline at the time, which is now AMR, and we had almost 70 trucks on the road. So you don't know everybody.
Yeah, that's a big crew,
and
that's a huge crew.
But it was back in my hometown. I wasn't in Birmingham at the time. I was headed back to Jasper, and we had to go pick up their call, and I was like, oh, maybe they broke down or something. And then when we were dropping the patient off, we saw on the news. It was like,
Oh, that's
wow.
so surreal. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's where that crew is.
Yeah.
But you're watching it, your mind is putting that fire break in, going, hey, that's on TV. But the reality is that's the crew, and that's. And I got to think of the logistics. How do they? Maybe they didn't die instantly, but it's like, how did that get radioed in? The train has to radio it to somebody, and then it's a delay in communication. That's just tough.
Yeah.
Mine was similar. I shared it on the show about I relieved the crew, where they come out and somebody ran a stop sign and just T-boned them as they were taking a transport up, and I had to go and take their patient. Somebody else, they were doing a emergency transport from Walton Hospital. So Walton EMS took the call, took the patient right back to the hospital. Our service came, and all I knew was like, I'd actually heard that they were in an accident. That's all I knew. Because we're a small company, so it spread very quickly. And they both survived, and they were both fine. So they were able to, they had to go through some rehab and stuff. But they were ultimately fine, is what I'm trying to say. And then so they were able to radio it in themselves, so it very quickly got back to us. So we went and relieved, and that's on the truck later. And I honestly don't remember if the person who ran the stop sign survived or not. Of course, the family tried to sue our service, and it's like, they were running lights and sirens with no stop sign. She had the stop signs, a one-way stop, and this way had right-of-way, period. And they had lights and sirens on top of that, and a long straightaway that you could see, and she just blew right through the stop sign and hit him. You know where the cab meets the truck? That's where she hit.
Wow.
So it destroyed her car, and it really hurt the truck a lot.
I know I was going down Salem Road once, and I was driving, and I was passing a car, and I was just straight away, and I could see the car had pulled over, halfway off the road, and I was going around them, and then the car in the oncoming lane had pulled over slightly, but the car behind them, being Mr. Impatient, wanted to go around, and here we are, and then he darted off the road and wrecked.
Yeah.
And we were going to a cardiac arrest. So we get there and we start working the arrest, and as we're coming out, dude's sitting there like, hey, I was just in a wreck, and I need your information. Like, dude, talk to that police officer right there.
Yeah. Because he's blaming you for causing the wreck.
Yeah.
Bozzy wasn't in that big a wreck. He's able to follow you.
Yeah. No, he scratched his car up pretty good, but that was it.
So that question about families and holidays was a good one. I want to end on this, and I have your 2 cents in there too. I want to say to the medics who are going on these calls throughout this holiday season, bring the joy and the mirth, and understand that everything is dark to everybody at this time. I mean, you go out and try to shop. I've been driving. I've been cut off so many times in the last 2 weeks. Just regular. I have defensive drive, and people just run up on me and go around me. It's like everybody thinks everything is super important, and they're in a rush, and so it's extra drastic if your family member's sick or something's going on. So go in extra patient, extra caring, and bring some jolliness and some fun.
Right.
I remember a childbirth Christmas Eve, and it had iced, and this was like a mud driveway. We couldn't even get up the driveway with the ambulance because it was ice, so we had to go up and got mud all over us. And this was like the lady's second or third kid. She was very calm and had it in the tub and this and that. And it's like, so the whole thing was she'd been keeping it secret from her family. It was supposed to be like that night they were going to have Christmas dinner with the family, and surprise, I'm pregnant, and she had the baby. And maybe it was a day or two before that. And so there's already this air of it's okay. Everybody was calm. So we just kind of just joked it up like nobody's business and said we could wrap her in a stocking and this and that. And the family loved it because it could have gone from to a stressful situation from being somewhat okay. I mean, it's always stressful to all of a sudden have a baby. I'm not sure what to do here, situation for them. But they loved it. And we got a Christmas card from them and talked about how you got to tell your daddy now and this and that. And so that's what I'm saying is, of course, if it was cardiac arrest, you can't necessarily go in with Santa hats and joking.
Right.
But But if you can, bring some lightness to people.
Some joy.
Yeah,
it's a joyous season. Come on.
It is. All right. Tell them about how to find information on the school. When's the next class? You're about to finish one up.
Yeah, we about to finish one up. We got one starting the end of January, so registration's ongoing. Come on. GeorgiaEMT.com.
We need new Lexuses.
Come on,
so please.
yeah, we need,
That's not it.
we need.
Yeah.
Christmas is gonna wipe us out. So come on.
We joke,
Yeah.
but the reality is, I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I'm aware that you operate in the black, which is a great way for a business to be. But by no means do you drive fancy cars
No,
or
I
blow
wish.
money on Hawaiian vacation. You know,
I
it's-
have kids.
It's very college age kids.
Yeah, they're expensive.
But the reality is, this is one of the most affordable schools around, and it
Yeah.
works on your schedule. And the hybrid situation of, yeah, you still have to be hands-on, but you get to learn on your own time.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
something
yep.
I never had opportunity
No.
to do. You know, it's really good.
Yep, and
So-
we'd love to have you. Come on, GeorgiaEMT.com, and come on board.
There you go. And if you like more of my style of entertainment, you can check out charlesmcfall.com. I have a whole slew of different types of shows that I do. There's something for everybody, so check it out. We'll be back next week. We're going to be here every week in December.
No, we only have, I think, I'll have to look at the schedule. I think either next Thursday or Thursday after, and then that's
Okay.
it until January.
Well, you know what? I might just sneak on and do something from my studio anyway. So, I like doing this, and I think it's fun and important. But, yeah, check us out. Come back next week. We'll be here next week, so get your questions ready. Again, share this with everybody. You like the page. You're seeing the video. Even if you
Yeah,
watch
come
3
on.
seconds, just share it. It's all good. So, until next time, we appreciate you, and we'll be back again.
See ya.